In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by Governor on February 15th, 2022, I announce that this meeting of the Select Board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the Select Board office via Zoom, and ask if there is anyone present who is also recording this meeting. All right. If no one is recording, let the minutes reflect that nobody else has indicated that they are recording this meeting. Or if someone is recording, identify yourself. All right. Moving on. Public comments. So public comment period is a period of time for the public to bring their concerns before the select board. The board will hear public comments for 15 minutes. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes to give everyone else an opportunity to speak. Is there anybody present for public comments? Bruce, yeah, come on up to the front here.
So many minutes. Did you say that?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
So I'm Bruce Jenks, Maple Valley Creamery. I'm here, I guess, just to level my comment or concern with regard to our ongoing food truck issue. There was a flurry of activity today, I'm assuming to keep me out of the seat, which doesn't solve the problem in any way at all. It's taken us over 6 months to get to this point with regard to a food truck. We've spent $7,000 in attorney's fees to go over 3 different bylaws, all of which never made it to the town meeting. We were told by the bylaw committee, of which we couldn't get any minutes, couldn't get any discussion, couldn't get anything from them. We were told that the first bylaw draft was the one that was going to be done. We paid an attorney to review it. It was from the city of Sandwich, Mass. It was plagiarized. It was mentioned the city of Sandwich at least 3 times. We reviewed that document and paid for it. Then there was a second document. We reviewed that document. Then there was a third document. Then there was a article put in front of the town with regard to passing the bylaw for the truck. Bylaw was passed, or I'm sorry, the article was passed unanimously. And yet mysteriously, there is no bylaw to be reviewed by our attorneys. There's no bylaw written. There's a bylaw being reviewed apparently by the town of Hadley attorney, to which no one will reveal who the town attorney is for Hadley, and we've requested it numerous times. I think today we finally had it because all of a sudden we have an entire email string capturing in the entire town, all the town committees, all the town people in the town hall, all of which never answered any of our emails. The conversations we've had with Ben at the Board of Health have been strained at best. Our taco truck driver is of Mexican descent. He's been discriminated against. He's been abused in the town hall. We've made those statements before. It's nothing new, and it continues. He's been hung up on this week by Ben in a conversation with regard to certifying the taco truck. It is the worst process that we have ever experienced with any. If this was a corporate entity, this town hall, it should start over. The rapid nepotism, the racism, the unprofessional manner of the employees in the town hall is something to be marveled. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. We ask questions, we send emails, we get no email back, just ignored. Our attorney requests opportunity to speak, doesn't get granted opportunity to speak. He makes requests to have attorneys to speak to. We don't get any. We ask why one food truck is allowed to operate sans anything at all. They just opened. Delightfully Delicious food truck just opened. I don't understand it. We just don't get it. It's a food truck. I know you say that the wheels are taken off, that it's on town water. Let me tell you what, it's on a standpipe. This is a food truck. These are taillights, it's a foundation. This is its water source. These are hoses that go underneath the truck. This is its electrical. This is the back side of their building. They have 0 septic. There is no septic on Lawrence Plain. This was a septic at one time. It's just an empty chemical tub that is used for fertilizer and farming. And yet we have a certified taco truck, 3-bay sink, running water, bathroom, hand sink. He can't even be looked at. I don't get it. We can't be more frustrated. We've made our complaints pretty vocal. Clearly, it seems to be some sort of a white-owned versus Mexican-owned truck issue. It's oddly enough, the whole town went to the Common this week for all kinds of food trucks. No problem, right? No problem. I saw and during the parade, there was a full barbecue down on the Common, on town property, open flame. No inspection, no permit, no nothing. Everybody just enjoy it. Several town officials were at it, whatever. That kind of stuff just blows my mind. We are 60 days in to this fella's opportunity to make money for his taco truck. He may get inspected this week, he may not. The only one that's been respectful in any way is the chief of the fire department, who was requested to inspect the truck, and we got an email right away from him. Amazing. Amazing. So I don't know who pressured Ben today to email us and grant us the opportunity to have a temporary permit while they're reviewing for a permanent, but I appreciate it. It was a salad board of emails. Everybody in the world was copied on it. You all have it. Ben told me in a conversation this week that the way they do it in Somerville is you apply every time. You apply with all your paperwork every time for every event. Not true. Not true. Look at the email I sent you before I came in. It's not true. I spoke with the city of Somerville. We're licensed in the city of Somerville. We vend in the city of Somerville, Brookline, Mattapan, Jamaica Plain. I have a food truck. I'm familiar with the way food trucks operate. So I just hope that there's some sort of investigation with regard to the process that we've been put through. I'm not asking for anything tonight. I'm really not. I'm just here to voice my frustration, to hope that no other food truck goes through this, to hope that there's some diversity in the town hall. Maybe we don't have to have an entirely white town hall, an entirely white, every board that this poor guy goes in front of, every employee in the town of Hadley. These poor fellas are just trying to make a living. They run two restaurants in Westfield, successful restaurants. They just want their food truck.
Can I ask for a time?
We're over 3 minutes. I'm going off the
I appreciate it. I didn't expect to be able to speak now.
Through the chair, if it's okay, so that I can respond to some of that, not to go back and forth. I'm giving the public an opportunity to hear the truth. There is multiple issues that are not true. There was not 3 bylaws. I can go on and on. What I want to make very clear is our employees are not racist. They have not shown any discrimination. They have performed with complete professionalism. There are things that are not wanted to be heard that have to be heard. And their role has been to keep the town safe and to do their job and keep their own certifications. So I want you as a board to know that there are multiple things that he just said that are not true. You don't need to discuss it, but I will be here to defend our employees.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? All right. Nobody online.
Yeah, there's nobody else.
Okay. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Warrants AP 2346S, AP 2346, PR 2323, AP 2347, AP 2347S, AP 2347-2, AP 2348, AP 2348S, AP 2348B, AP 23 debt bans. The minutes from June 29th, 2022, July 13th, 2022, 2022, August 3rd, 2022, September 7th, 2022, September 21st, 2022, October 5th, 2022, charity wine pouring for Fragile X on September 24th, 2023, 1-day liquor license
pull that out. I think Denise is here to speak to that.
Oh, Denise, you're here to speak for that one, for the Fragile X. Okay, so we will pull that from the consent agenda. A one-day liquor license for the Founders Celebration, Hadley Public Library on June 10th. Ambulance Committee resignation, Barbara O'Connor, Community Preservation Act Committee, Cassandra Gonzalez. And one-day liquor license for Leadfoot Brewing on June 10th, 2023, June 18th, 2023, and July 2nd, 2023.
I realizing as I'm reading this, it does not say Community Preservation Act Committee resignation.
Resignation.
Yes.
Cassandra Gonzalez.
Yeah, that is her letter is attached.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
Second.
moved by Joyce, seconded by Jane. And so any other discussion? All right,
All those in favor?
all those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
all opposed, same sign. All right. And
Denise?
yeah, Denise, you're here to speak. Yeah, come on to the front.
Hello, thank you for your time. Denise Devine, I am the leader of the Western Mass Fragile X chapter through the National Fragile X Foundation. And this is actually, I looked back through my files to see how many wine tastings. So this is the 11th one, believe it or not. Yeah, so it's our 11th annual Cork and Cafe. We will have over at Echelon Cafe on September 24th from 5 to 7. Information will be out. I usually put it out on Facebook and places like that. So if people want to purchase tickets, we'll have a silent auction that night too. And so just getting ready for it, and just wanted to let everybody know that we're having the event again this year.
Perfect.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Motion to move.
Second.
Approve. Not move, approve.
Um,
Should have had a glass of wine before I came.
motion by Joyce,
Use one. Okay.
seconded by Molly. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right,
Thank you, thank you.
thank you.
Good luck, Denise.
Good luck as usual. We'll be fine.
All right, new business, 6.1, Human Resources Director Troy Bryn. I think Carolyn wants to. Yeah, come on up.
Did you want me to do town administrator goals?
Let's do Troy and let him.
He's halfway there.
Do you want to play a band or something or?
All right, I'm introducing you to Troy Bryn. As you know, Jennifer left just under 2 weeks ago, and we're very fortunate that Troy was looking for this position and was able to step in very quickly, which was very helpful because we do have 2 new unions coming up and multiple other things related that we need to get in place for HR. So I just wanted to introduce you to Troy and have Troy, and you'll be voting on authorizing his position, but also I wanted you guys to, if you want to ask Troy any questions, but I'll let him give you a little background. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with my teammates, which is what I call them here in the town of Hadley. I'm excited about the opportunity to work with all of you members of the board, and as well as Carolyn and all the other teammates that I have. Any
Welcome aboard.
questions? Well, thank you so much.
You live
Thanks
in
for the
Munson?
opportunity. Do I live? I'm sorry.
Where do you live?
I live in Belchertown.
Belchertown.
Yep.
Not too far of a drive.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Depends on what side you're on. If you're.
Yeah, I am on the south side. So.
And Troy, since your resume is not in the record, folks at home may want to know, but just a little bit about your
Just-
background.
Background. So I served in the US Army for 20 years, retired 2013, a variety of background, specialized in human intelligence, which kind of started my love for HR back then. And then just kind of grew. I worked extensively in veteran services, since I retired. So I originally started in a nonprofit, national nonprofit as a regional manager, managing 6 states and 2 offices. And then transitioned out of that due to relocation up here to New England. Relocated up here, worked as regional manager, managing the New England states specific programs, public funded, private funded grants. And then realized nonprofits wasn't really my thing. Transitioned over to municipality. Been working in municipal government since 2016, in veteran services, as well as been members of multiple committees, boards, executive boards, state boards, national boards, you name it. So that's kind of where I came from. I have a master's degree from the University of Connecticut in human resources management, and also SHRM certified professional as well.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Troy.
So Carolyn, you don't need a vote on that, correct? You're just introducing me.
Yeah, I think you should
Yeah,
definitely do
yeah,
official vote
You
effective.
do want to vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to accept the appointment of Troy Bryn as our new human resource director.
Second.
All right, motion by Molly, second by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. Okay, do we want to go to, you want to go, oh, I'm sorry, 5-1. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss that.
That's okay. It's all right. This is, I attached the initial goals that we reviewed in January of this year. And speaking with Molly, Molly and I met to try to consolidate and make a little bit more pointed and focused on some of those goals. And so I've listed that under the public content, not only the former goals that I had, but a more concise, what I love is the bullet points, 4 areas that kind of encompass what I presented, but more in a shorter, compact, clearer point. So I wanted to just present those to you guys. Do you have any questions or?
Carolyn, do you think, so periodically will you report kind of on your progress against these goals? Or, I mean, because obviously they're broader right
Yeah.
now, but you'll be able to give us, you know,
Yes.
here are the things that I've done relative to that particular goal.
And if things from the other list show up, you let us know that.
They're probably going to be, a lot of this list is going to end up under those categories. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it again today and a lot of them, and that's really where it came from when Molly and I met.
It's always fluid.
We're just,
She's always fluid.
okay. Any other?
All
Do you,
right.
again, do you want a vote for us to accept these as your goals? Do we need to do that or no?
That I leave that up to you guys. I
I
mean,
don't think we,
You guys, yeah,
they're in writing.
okay.
yep, we're good. Okay. All right, so we can, what you guys want to do the liaison assignments?
Sure.
Next, okay. So I think it's been the last 2 times that I've been on the board, it's kind of been each time done differently on how we want to do this. I kind of wanted to go through each of the boards and kind of see who is interested in each of them.
Well, I'm gonna stay, of course, with public safety for my final year, so let's go with that.
I told you.
They're gonna be in writing, Joyce?
I
Yeah.
told her that.
I do
Don't
not
take that
renege on my sayings. No, so I am a person of my word,
Okay, so
and I won't be coming back.
do you want so there is the school committee?
I'd like to stay with.
You
it
want the
also.
school committee? Okay, Park and Rec, I'm happy to stay with it unless somebody else does want it. I'm fine with that. And then the Russell School Committee.
Pretty much done, aren't they?
Well, so that's something that I wanted to talk about. I think initially, their charge was to go out to the town and see what the town was interested in and then, act on that, which the town said that they wanted the feasibility study. And that's what they brought to town hall, and that's what we're doing. So I don't know if there's options. We could either dissolve that committee and create a new one, or we could redefine their purpose moving forward.
I think it depends on the feasibility study and how we move forward, so.
Yeah,
I think they're sitting in limbo right now until we get that, and we haven't had an opportunity, I don't think, to ask them what they wanted to remain on that. It's kind of not fair to dissolve a committee without anybody from that committee being here, since they've been active with it.
right. So those were essentially our options, and I was thinking more along the lines of redefining their scope. Since we appointed them, we have to give them a charge.
Yeah, and I think there's enough that's transpired, like you're saying, Amy, that the charge has changed, right?
Mhm.
And we won't know until we get back from the.
So do we then want to change their scope of work to, instead of see what the town wants to do, and it was the feasibility study, now to have them move through the feasibility study and then to figure out from the feasibility study then what the town's interested in? Does that make, or do you want me to tighten that up more?
So I think, just to reiterate, what the feasibility study is for is a reuse options. Private, and I've shared the scope with you. You guys have discussed it and approved of it, but it's to look at different options, to keep it as a public owned, we use it for town purposes. Is it reuse as far as a private entity, sell it right out? Is it a shared collaborative between a private and the town? Is it demolition? So I think once you find out the direction that the town wants to go in, I think you as a select board can review the return of those documents. And once that's been awarded to have a company, because that's exactly what the scope of work is going to be. Because that's what was agreed upon. And then that may be a good time to look at whatever the town has decided how to move forward. That's who the makeup of that committee is going to be. And it could be the same members, but it could be others depending on what the scope is. You might have someone who, if it goes private, or if it goes private public suggestion and the town approves it, you might want different experience on there. So it's up to you, but I think I think we need to get a little bit more information from when that comes back.
Okay.
And that's
Basically, there's nothing else for them to do at the moment,
until,
Until that.
Until
Until
the
town
feasibility
meeting.
is done.
until the survey is back and the
Right.
meeting votes.
right,
That makes sense.
Which I think I think they were gonna make another survey for specifically the 4 outcomes, and then potentially do something with that. But that being said, when do we discuss vacancies and
So,
updating?
Boards and committees update is on there as a further down agenda item. And pardon me, Carolyn and I have been working on this, and we sent out a new form to boards and committees asking for them to acknowledge and receive them. And this is a good moment, I guess, if a board or committee has not received it, if they could contact me at info@hadleyma.org. I gave everybody the deadline of the 14th. Because Carolyn found a really great new form that we're using, asking everybody to, because y'all, this is off topic.
Let's go, that's the next
Yeah,
so let's
gone
finish
in
up the
Okay,
liaisons.
all right,
Thank
sorry.
you.
I wasn't sure where that was gonna come from.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll stay on the Russell School Committee, that's fine. Public safety, you want to stay with
Yes,
public
ma'am.
safety? And then education.
Mhm.
Now, is education and school committee the same thing?
School.
Yeah, it's repeated. I don't know why.
Okay, so I was like, oh, if I was on the school committee, nobody told me. Shade tree,
I'm gonna give that one up. I don't know how active that is.
is it an inactive one? Are they still active?
They do, after they do one a year, I don't. I'm looking to see if Scott's here. I don't think they've done anything in 2 years. So again, I mean,
Again, that would go to the
Yeah.
next one. Okay, so I'll just make a note just to bring that one up. The next, ambulance oversight committee.
Molly and I are both on that.
Okay.
Yep. But technically, I was on as a community site when I went off the board. A special request from the fire chief. He asked if I could stay on in that community role. So technically, you're the select board representative. Right.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. And then we amended the language in the contract. Yeah.
Mhm.
So both, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Cable renewal committee.
that one's Joyce.
Gonna pass that along. That's gonna be a contract negotiation. With Spectrum. Coming
Coming
up,
up real soon.
huh?
We're gonna be
Soon,
addressing that real soon.
yeah.
Anybody interested in that one?
You want to keep it, Joyce?
Not particularly, no.
Oh,
I was on the last one when we negotiated for the contract that we have right now. Which was 10 years ago, I believe.
Yep,
Quite a while, yeah.
I'm so old, it's pathetic.
I will take that on as part of the, assuming I keep human services, Hadley Media's under that.
Okay. Department of, the DPW, Department of Public
That's
Works.
fine. Human services, although Molly, didn't you take the library out of that? Are you the library liaison? Do I remember that, or am I hallucinating? Okay.
Well, hold on,
Long
so
time
for
ago.
for
Long
the
time ago, yeah.
Department of Public Works, are you saying that you want to stay or are you
Yes, I would
willing?
like to stay,
Okay,
unless somebody else,
is there anyone else interested in that one?
I'd be interested in it. I'm not gonna fight you for it, but I'll take it.
Can I?
Okay, thank you.
You guys are so nice.
And then you wanted to keep the Human Services, the Council on Aging, the Hadley Media,
Right.
okay.
And then last year, we already changed it, that town hall was all one person. It wasn't split between financial and non-financial.
Okay,
I still had it used when it.
Yeah.
I think we actually split it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
It was
split it
not
the first
split
time.
before that.
Right, and then we put it back together.
No,
No, I
it's
think
still
we,
split. I
yeah,
haven't done my job properly.
do you want the,
I'll keep it then.
non-financial, okay, Climate Change Committee,
Yes.
okay? All right, Town Hall financial portion.
I'm fine keeping that unless anybody wants to fight over it.
Okay,
Finance.
Housing and Economic Development,
I'd like to keep that
UMass,
and I'd like to keep that.
okay? Municipal Building Committee,
That's me.
are you still interested in it?
I'll stay there. Yes.
Okay, Committee for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion,
I'm fine with that unless somebody really wants it.
How often do you meet on that?
They meet once a month. It's a very good group. I'm very negligent in going to their meetings, but I read their minutes and they do a really good job. But I will stay there. That's fine.
Capital Planning.
Yeah, I'll keep that.
Are there any other committees or departments that aren't listed that need to be assigned?
I'm also on the liaison for the Conservation Commission. Just
That's right.
Okay. Are there any other ones that weren't on here?
I did put the disclaimer on there just to make sure, because. I didn't want any committee to feel slighted or anything.
Okay,
The mosquito opt-out committee, I would take.
do they still need that or were they done since they
There,
moved it?
it's an annual thing, but the state has forced them to be in hold position.
Okay.
I wouldn't dissolve them. I would, because I
Okay,
think
yeah,
it's just a
it's
temporary hold. Yeah.
Okay,
So I'll take that.
all right.
I'm looking.
Oh, is anyone on the agricultural commission? Do they need a liaison?
See, I thought you were, no?
I
I
wasn't.
didn't have,
Okay.
I didn't, so I took it straight from the website.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
is what I've had, which had to come from this set of minutes, and I would upload it onto the website. So that's what I had. So we could have missed, I could have missed.
That's fine.
So you're gonna take action?
That makes sense.
I mean,
That's why I thought.
I think people would be offended if I didn't.
Yeah.
I'll get that.
Do we have the historical commission have one?
You have to take them.
Have they had one?
Have they had one?
I don't think that they've had one. Not all of the boards and committees have always had
Yeah.
a very active liaison, not actually, I'm looking at Molly and Joyce. Is it everybody always had one?
No, and I did go to some historical, that previously when I was on the board, I did attend not all of their meetings, but some. I kept in touch with them.
Okay. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's,
And so for CPA, we appoint 3 members. It says, and then how do the others get there?
It comes from various boards and
Various
commissions.
boards. Okay. Okay.
So, I'm sorry, just to be clear, who's taking historical?
are you Amy?
Yeah, I don't mind. That's fine.
Okay.
So just for clarification, like you guys are feeling guilty about not attending meetings. Typically in communities, you're as a liaison, as a point person for the select board. You don't have to show up at every meetings. It's just knowing that they have somebody on the board to contact. So don't feel guilty if you can't attend every
I
meeting.
get that.
You guys are busy.
If I felt guilty, I'd go.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So do we need to vote these or just, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a sign.
And then Ollie, for now, you can put it as the record that I'll do the shade tree, but then we can talk about it in the next one. Sure. Okay. Works for me. All right. Can I get a motion from anybody?
You don't
On this? We don't need one. We're good. Okay, good. Works for me. All right, so boards and committees. I think, so one of the things was for the Russell School Committee, it looks like there was 8 spots. And I think there's only 4 active members.
So y'all appointed the committee with 8 spots, then that is what their form is. And so that's what they need to have to be a fully, I'm sorry, Carolyn, 5?
5.
They need
Yeah.
5 people to be an active committee and to actually hold posted meetings.
Do we think that that's too many people?
7.
I think it's 8.
Well, there's a
Eight.
resigned one there.
But her position still stays.
Yeah,
Whenever y'all appointed all of the people who expressed interest in joining the committee, y'all appointed everyone. So that's how you formed your committee, is with 8 people. So even if somebody resigns, that position still remains.
so,
Well, you put out to the committees asking for if people want to stay on or if they are other people that should be appointed, right?
yeah.
I did.
In the request, so that we'll get that next week or.
So, okay, so
So
then I
maybe-
think we should take a look at these.
So, yes, I think the purpose of this is probably for the, oh my gosh, probably 2.5 years. It constantly comes up, whether I'm having discussions with one-on-one or other individuals in town about committees and boards. And so this was the attempt to start this ability for you guys to look at what are all the committees. And then there's some points here that what you want to look at, what's their mission, what's their purpose, are they done, have they met? Do they have a full board? Troy and I are going to be working on about that volunteer book that is really going to help them in so many ways. But it's letting them know that whatever your starting appointed amount of people were,
Mhm.
that's the quorum. You have to, I'm sorry, that's what you base the quorum on. If people resign and we don't know about it and committees are meeting less than their quorum because they're thinking their quorum is based on who's left, it's technically not a legitimate meeting. So it's just, we want to be able to go back and notify now that we're getting some feedback and you guys have some ability to look at those committees, is to be able to respond to them and just help educate them. They're looking for guidance. I think that's my impression, is they're looking for guidance. So
And I'd ask any committee that did not get the renewal packet from me to email me at info@hadwinmA.org, and I will give them the renewal packet right away. Sometimes when they change chairs, they don't always tell me. So I'm still, I believe I emailed a lady that's moved to Canada. And she emailed me back and said, oh, I moved to Canada. So, but I still had her as the chair. So I can't, I have to know to keep the list up to date.
Okay. All right. And then for the shade tree, should we like reach out to, or should I reach out as their liaison, or? You
Everyone
did?
could, I emailed, Brady Phil was the chair at the time, so she got an email from me. And if she responds, which I'm sure probably David's watching right now, that she should get back to me. And if not, that would be, I think that would be the time for y'all to discuss it. I will have, based off the list that I received by the 14th, that gives me an additional 7 days to chase people down. But the other thing is that in the past, y'all were appointing people off of the list that I had, and I gave you the list, and it was the same 17 people that were always on there. And it was turning out that y'all were appointing people who weren't on committees or moved to Canada or whatever, because we didn't have a good procedure in place. So having everybody who wants to be on a committee fill out the form and return it with their contact information is really going to clean that up for y'all. And it'll make sure that the people who are serving on the committees want to be on the committees and that they want to be active on the committee. And I think the form that Carolyn found is just, it's really great because it actually says on there, this committee meets, can you come to the meetings? Because I think that matters.
Right.
And I know some of our committees are disheartened sometimes when they host a meeting and then they get there and they can't make quorum. So I think that's something to keep in mind, but this is just for y'all to start thinking about it. I can't tell you the committees that don't actively meet, if you would like, but I also want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah, so the other question I had that did come up for the boards and committees, so if there are people that are on multiple boards or committees, do they have to fill out a form for each one that they're interested in, right?
yes,
It's not like a.
Yeah. it's the only way we can keep it organized.
Okay,
And so you can ignore that email that I sent you today. I'll put it on the form that you sent me. I'm just self-reporting here that I did it in email. Okay.
For the record, I was composing an email to Molly during the meeting saying, dear Molly, please complete the form as all other boards and committees.
okay.
And Amy, I know you mentioned that you wanted to talk, and again, I agree with Joyce. I think if we're thinking about doing anything different with any of the committees, or I would like to continue a discussion about the municipal building committee and their role as well, and whether or not that committee should continue or have a different charter, people, whatever you want to call it.
So just something that we want to put on like the next meeting, give us.
I would keep this on until you guys have a good handle on, I think it should be on the next
Okay,
select board meeting.
all right. Anyone have anything else? Okay. 6.1 food truck regulations. There are 2 attachments to the board docs. So essentially, what we're approving tonight is only for food trucks that would be operating on town-owned property. So it's not anything that has to do with public property.
So just one question. I just want to make sure. So the regulation that we're talking about doesn't have any, it's not posing an impediment to existing food trucks that are trying to operate, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And yeah, because I don't think there is any that are operating on town-owned property.
Okay. So in the past, I think we had agreed to having kind of like a first reading and then having the opportunity to ask questions and then maybe voting. I just wanted to
Absolutely.
make sure we're not delaying anything, but could we actually take a vote?
No,
at
because this is for
subsequent meeting?
public ways. So,
Yeah, okay.
yep. So if you want to read it and have questions,
Well,
I
one
don't-
question I had is,
and I'm just going to say,
Sure.
Attorney Costa is on. And so he's been working through helping me clarify some of this as well. It's because it is confusing. That's why I kind of gave you that cheat sheet. So if you have any questions, ask them. And if I feel Adam might be a better person to respond, we've got him here. So let's take advantage of it.
okay. Well, just one question I had is, has this, I know it started with the planning board and the bylaw committee had a lot of work done. Has this particular regulation that's in front of us, has it gone back to them for their review as well?
No. So, and here's why, and this will clarify something that Mr. Jenks shared that I need to clarify. So there were two bylaws. There was a placeholder for 3.
Yep.
There were 2 bylaws that were placed on the warrant. It went to our legal counsel for them to review. They saw one for the zoning and went through that. And then they saw the one that was placed for the select board, the regulations. And when they recognized that, they said, this does not get authorized at town meeting. This is a vote by the select board. So they went through it all and gave us back the copy that you have.
Mhm.
So it would not go back to the bylaws. This is yours. This is under the select board, and it would be what our town council has guided us through that regulation.
So this regulation takes effect for instance, the Asparagus Festival, because that's on town property,
Correct.
but not when I want to have somebody come to my house and have a food truck.
No.
That's private.
Okay.
You're all invited whenever it happens.
And is there a plan to address that?
Private.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Under the,
So for private, it really is gonna end up in 2 situations. The first private will be, first of all, Board of Health and Chiefs Bank Able, propane tanks and health, food health, always. So whether it's a private event or a public event or whatever, fire and Board of Health are an always situation. Who's select board though, it will be if they're selling, like, so if Jane does have a food truck in her house to celebrate Molly's birthday, then and it's a private event, it's like a catering at that situation, then they would not have a transient vendor, hawker, peddler license. If they're selling at a location, like they set up and they're selling food from their private location, that is going to have I keep mixing them up because it's such an unwieldy thing, the transient hawker, peddler, vendor license, that they will have to have that from y'all under your license authority. It'll be a food truck license.
So. Okay, so when we're done with this, we have all of the bylaws, zoning and regulations we need to allow for all 3 categories of food trucks, or do we still have a hole?
Adam, did you hear that question?
I did.
Okay.
Hi, Adam.
How are you?
Is there a hole that we aren't addressing with food trucks?
So I don't think that there is. The way that food trucks are regulated or will soon be regulated in Hadley is threefold. You have, on the one hand, the zoning bylaw amendment that the town adopted at the recent annual town meeting. And that amendment is not yet in effect, in the sense that, as the board members are aware, bylaws must be submitted to the Attorney General's office for approval and must be approved by the Attorney General before they are then posted and published by the town, at which point they become effective, retroactive to the date of adoption in the instance of a zoning bylaw. But that process is not complete yet, but on the presumption that the Attorney General will approve the amendment, that regulates where food trucks can be located on public property, on private property. It just determines on a zoning district by zoning district basis where these food trucks can be located. So that's the first category of regulation. The second category of regulation is what you have before you tonight, and that's the food truck regulations for public properties. And it says in section 2 that these apply to approved locations on public rights of way, school buildings, parking lots, and adjacent fields, and public parks and adjacent parking lots. And the idea here is that that's really the extent of the jurisdiction of the select board with regard to the operation of these sorts of food trucks is on public property that is within the purview of the town and therefore of the select board. And so when we saw these food truck regulations originally proposed as a potential bylaw for adoption at town meeting, we red flagged it and we said to Carolyn and ultimately to the town that we believed that these weren't structured as a bylaw, they were structured as a regulation. It's not unusual for select boards to regulate public property in this manner. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We utilized a format that has been adopted in many other communities in Massachusetts. And so that's what these regulations do. And then the third category of regulation, and arguably the most important, although I suppose they all work in conjunction, is the Board of Health review. The Board of Health reviews all food trucks, whether they happen to be on private or on public property, to ensure that they comply with health and safety standards, specifically the state sanitary code. And there's a process whereby an applicant can make a request of the Board of Health. There's an inspection performed, as I understand it, of the food truck. All the boxes need to be checked for the health inspector to verify that it does meet the state code requirements, and presuming that it does, then the food truck is permitted to operate. So those are the three categories of regulation or protection. Jennifer did make reference to one additional category, although it's really sort of an overlapping category, and that is the food truck, much like other sorts of activities in a community, can trigger the hawker and peddler statute and bylaw that would require a license in that regard as well. But those are the different categories. I believe consequently that food trucks, again, once all of these are adopted, in effect, approved by the Attorney General as necessary, food trucks will be more fully addressed and regulated in the town of Hadley.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, what did we use as a bylaw for the Asparagus Festival this year?
It was the temporary.
Temporary, so fire, building inspector, Board of Health, right? They had to get clearance from those three for them to have a food truck on the town common for the Asparagus Festival, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. I just need to know these things. Sorry.
All right. Anyone have anything else? Nope. So could I just ask, so can we get this in front of well, probably Jim and Bill, since they're on it, just want to make sure who on the planning board, just the language, just in case that they had any
It
questions.
went to town council. You wanted to go back to planning?
Well, there's some stuff in here that I don't like.
Yeah.
The first paragraph, operating requirements. Licensees may only operate at specifically approved public or private locations. We're talking public only here. There's another time in that paragraph where private is mentioned again, so I think that needs to be cleared up. One other thing that I just saw. Where did it go? I'll find it. Oh, if operations are located on a town-owned property, this is supposed to be about town-owned property, so I don't think if is appropriate.
Yeah, I think it would just be a good idea. Carolyn, I'm not suggesting it go back to the full planning board and the bylaw committee for review. I'm just saying key people on it might pick up on some things that we wouldn't necessarily. And I'm sure nobody wants to talk about food truck regulations and bylaws much more. But just get it buttoned up once and done.
Bill, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Bill Dwyer from the Planning Board. So I think there is still a hole here, Adam. The issue is, or what we are trying to deal with is someone who's basically renting out space to a food truck. So in some locations, such as was heard earlier, Mr. Jenks operates on a large farm. There's plenty of room. But contrast Select Board member Keegan renting her driveway to a food truck on a dead-end street. is there no control over that?
It's a public way.
So through you, Madam Chair, so there's control through zoning and there's control through the Board of Health. But the policy that it's adopted by the, or I guess we've called it a regulation, the regulation that is proposed for adoption by the Select Board would not regulate any food truck on private property, because candidly, it would be beyond the purview of the Select Board. The idea with this regulation was to add an additional layer of protection. I would liken it to what I see occur in many communities with conservation commissions, many communities that have sizable parcels of land that is in the care, custody, and control of conservation commissions. The commissions will adopt policies with regard to the use of those town-owned conservation lands. Everything from regulating the use of firearms to trash disposal to hours of access and safety precautions. They can do that because that land is in their care, custody, and control. So the idea with these regulations that are before the Select Board tonight was simply to provide the Select Board with some authority with regard to those food trucks that are operating in public locations, whether it be schools or parks or parking lots adjacent to those sorts of municipal facilities, or within the public right of way. If you've got a food truck operating on a private property, whether it be a small private property or a more sizable private property, that's going to be regulated by the zoning bylaw, either permitted or prohibited or restricted. Also going to be regulated from a safety, a health and safety perspective by your Board of Health, which will have to issue its approval with regard to the operation of that food truck.
So I'd just like to dig a little deeper into it. So, excuse me, I have an unstable connection, I'm told. So under the Select Board's authority to regulate transient vendors, et cetera, if a Select Board member, I'll pick on Molly Keegan again, chose to rent her driveway to a food truck that was selling its product from her driveway, we have no control over that. Other than Board of Health.
You have no control over it under these regulations. Your control is, as you say, Board of Health.
Yeah, I'm not talking about these regulations. Is there a way to regulate it under the transient vendors and hawkers and peddlers?
Yes, if it requires a hawkers and peddlers license, like any other hawker or peddler, not specific to food trucks, it can be regulated in that fashion as well.
Does a food truck require that?
It does.
Okay, so it's not a question here of someone hiring a catering truck for the family wedding. It's a question of someone renting out part of their yard for a purpose to a food truck that perhaps shouldn't be in that neighborhood because it's too constricted. Unfortunately, in Hadley, basically 3/4 of the town is zoned agricultural residential. And that includes lots that are maybe 25 to 30,000 square feet with 150 feet of frontage, some very tight spaces, and some very broad spaces where people have hundreds of feet of frontage. We just don't fine tune, we don't slice and dice agricultural residential that much. So our concern was that there will be some properties where a food truck will work, and there will be other properties where a food truck won't work. And we were looking at mainly private properties when we proposed the bylaw, and the general bylaw about regulating food trucks. Not so much public property, although public property does have to be addressed. There was no authority per se for the Asparagus Festival, for example. So the hole in the regulatory scheme is, what do we do with food trucks that are charging the public for their product and are renting or occupying a space on private property? And how can they be regulated so that they do not create a hardship for the neighborhood, for through traffic, for whatever.
And so through you, Madam Chair, if I can just attempt to briefly respond to that. So there are a number of ways that communities can go about attempting to regulate food trucks. And so what was proposed to us was an approach that Hadley envisioned. I think our first notice of that approach was when we reviewed the proposed warrant for the annual town meeting in May. And as Carolyn has stated, I think that there were initially maybe 3 placeholders on that warrant, ultimately 2 quote unquote bylaws that were presented. One, a zoning bylaw, the second, what you now see as your proposed regulation. I think it is fair to say that originally the proposed regulation was more expansive and included reference to private properties. We flagged that and expressed concern that that would not be consistent with the legal authority of the town or the select board. We also flagged the zoning bylaw because regulating food trucks through zoning, while not necessarily impermissible, it can be problematic, can be challenging, as I think you can all appreciate. Food trucks are not the same sort of traditional use that we see regulated under zoning. It's not a brick and mortar type building. It's not doesn't have the same degree of permanence that other uses have when they're authorized on a site. But having said that, that is the approach that Hadley ultimately adopted. We went to town meeting in May with that proposal. It passed by the requisite 2/3 vote. We're now considering these regulations for adoption by the select board. In light of that scheme that's now been created, I think that some of what is being raised as concern that maybe a food truck might be appropriate for some properties within a district, like the residence agricultural district, but not appropriate for other properties within that same district. Well, then that calls for a different approach to zoning. That calls for an approach to zoning where you might allow these in residential districts, but by special permit that would give the special permit granting authority, whatever board or body that might be, the authority to take action on a case-by-case basis based upon the particulars. That's not currently how the zoning amendment is structured, but that's certainly something that could be considered to provide for greater flexibility in allowing consideration of each application as it comes forward and the appropriateness of the site on which it's proposed. Again, my final word is that there are 2 distinct aspects of regulating food truck operation, which also makes it challenging. There's the food truck itself, which of course is in and of itself transient. It's a mobile operation. And then there's the regulation of where it occurs, the location where the truck can be found and where it can be found selling its goods. And so that presents a wrinkle, again, that doesn't otherwise typically exist in the traditional context of zoning regulation.
But wouldn't, I know we only have 2 minutes before our appointment, but wouldn't the hawkers, peddlers, transient vendors license have the fire department? Are they part of that at all as far as questioning, like for parking and things like that for people on private ways?
Can you repeat that? I don't think that she's making able to hear you.
So the hawkers, peddlers, transient vendor license, that goes through you, right?
Through you.
Well, through us, but then generally when we would say approved contingent upon
Yes,
appropriate parking.
yes, there would, the application is still coming from MTC, but it'll have on there, I imagine, something exactly like your 1-day alcohol license, where Chief Spangle, Chief Mason, Tommy Quinlan, the building inspector, will put their conditions on that. And part of the regulations that are included here actually state that, and it states the trash receptacles and a couple of other things. I'm not going to quote them all because we're running out of time.
So then it sounds like there really isn't a hole. Right? That's kind of where I was going with that, is that if we have essentially power over the public owned property, and then when it comes to the private ways, they still have to get a license through the licensing approved by us. And then we usually approve it contingent upon. So I'm not really seeing where there's an additional hold. And I apologize, but I think we might have to continue this at another time.
Well, I think
You're gonna
the
take it.
suggestion was to bring it back anyway.
To bring it back.
And I'll,
Okay.
And any questions that came can be resolved.
Yep.
Because it is 7 o'clock and we do have an appointment. A public hearing, well, an appointment for a public hearing. With the Young Men's Club. Come on in.
So you're signing Adam off, because you have to stay.
I think Adam's staying for this.
yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
You always like the hot seat, don't you?
Excuse me.
I don't know, I
You gotta
between
sit
the
down.
seat and that seat, I think we're in the hot seat.
And I can identify the two areas.
Just sign. And it will be works, consider it. Says that on the regional energy.
Oh, I was gonna take it. I got my stuff.
For chairs there, if you want to bring them back there.
Here, the chairs over here, guys. Pull them out.
Okay, we ready? Everyone ready? Yep. All right, good evening. This is a hearing to determine whether to modify, suspend, revoke, or cancel the Young Men's Club of Hadley's all alcohol club liquor license. Today is June 7th, 2023. The board has reason to believe that on April 21st, 22nd, and 28th, the Young Men's Club committed certain violations of GL Chapter 138, Section 12, the ABCC's regulation or other laws applicable to the sale of alcohol beverages in Massachusetts.
You need to have each person identify themselves, who's going to be speaking or testifying.
Okay. You identify yourself?
Sure, of course. So for the record, Tom Reedy, an attorney with Bacon Wilson out of Amherst, here on behalf of the Young Men's Club of Hadley. With me, besides a whole host of members, I've got Sean Gould, the president. And if I may, to the board, as we read the notice, it says.
So yeah, Amy, and so right now, everyone's, and anybody who's identifying themselves, who's going to be testifying or speaking, just
Yeah.
needs to identify themselves. Amy's then going to swear you all in.
Yeah.
And then we'll lead the discussion.
Okay. So who is present on behalf of the licensee? That would be you.
Yes.
Um,
And I don't know that I need to be sworn in. I think Sean would need to be sworn in if there's testimony.
if there are any others present who have personal firsthand knowledge of the event and wish to testify, please raise your hands. Who will be speaking on that.
You'll need to identify yourself.
So
Each person just
Each
needs to
person
identify
just needs to-
themselves.
okay.
Yes.
Sean Gould. Josh Michael Stanley will fire department. Mike Mason, police department.
anyone else?
Richard Downey, board member.
Go one more.
Okay.
Amy back.
And Jennifer Sanders James, licensing coordinator for the town.
Okay.
I'd like to disclose that my husband is a lifetime member of the Young Men's Club, but that does not prohibit me from participating. Shut up, Dick.
All right, so all those identified, please raise your right hand. Or stand if you'd like also and are able to.
He didn't identify himself.
Oh, Dan,
And
yeah, sorry, you have to identify yourself officially.
and
Member?
Member, vice member, Madam President.
All right, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
to
truth?
identify himself.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy is in County resident.
Okay.
Scott,
Anyone else that hasn't said, identified themselves, please? Yeah,
I assume the gentleman from the Young Men's Club would speak to the alcohol license.
correct.
If we are a resident, how do you wish that?
So this hearing is for the alcohol license and potential and alleged violations only. So this is not for noise complaints or anything else outside of the scope of the alcohol license.
So how do we as residents, do this here, have the town address the noise violations?
Yeah, so that's gonna be a separate specific item on a future agenda. Today is just for the alcohol.
So I may interject. If the alcohol license is going to be discussed,
Mhm.
and we as residents have concern about the noise and the traffic and the litter,
Mhm.
and you afford the club a license to operate, we have no clout.
This is for legal allegations.
The license is our means of clout to get the club to acknowledge and respect the residents in the area. If you afford them a event by event license, that at least gives us the opportunity to talk about noise, rubbish, traffic.
Right, and so that would be for another meeting. This is simply to go through the allegations, fact find evidence, and then decide if we're going to revoke, suspend, or cancel, or deny, or modify. All sorts of things.
So,
So this is not for that, and if you're here to talk about that, we are not doing that today.
well, I'm here only because you, the board, selects to give the club a license, open their license, continue their license, per se, what is their license?
I completely understand that, and we've had multiple meetings since this event, and someone could have brought it up in public comment at that time. Again, today is just about the alcohol license. It is not about anything else. So if anyone here is to speak on that, this is not what it's for.
Say something.
Yeah.
I also think that we're probably not deciding today and that we will be having another hearing for people who have concerns about noise, litter and traffic. And that may happen before we make a decision.
Will we be able to at least voice our concern before meeting two?
You're welcome at any public comment
Or
at our
meeting two.
meetings or
meeting two.
meetings,
Yes.
anytime that we have a meeting.
So I think for clarification and understanding the concerns that they're expressing, we did have to do this as a separate hearing specific to the alcohol license, that we had to do it separate. There has been enough concern by the residents that we spoke about having another separate hearing just for the
Correct.
concerns that the residents
Yeah.
expressed.
So that would be a separate one.
No, I
Not-
understand it's gonna be a meeting for alcohol license. And there'll be a meeting relative to those of
Other-
us that are concerned
Right.
about the noise and so forth.
So nothing's,
And I'm just saying, I think they're linked together. And by them being linked together, we would, at least
yeah, so nothing's being voted on tonight.
So
So you will have the
I'd like to at least
opportunity.
Have the board hold a meeting to discuss noise and so forth with the residents before you finalize.
Right, and that's why nothing's being voted on today. This is,
Adam is raising his.
Hi, Adam.
Costa
You may
is raising his hand.
Madam Chair, if I could just offer one point of clarification, because I think I appreciate the comment the speaker is making, who I can't see, so I can't address you specifically, but so yes, I can appreciate that the operation of the club, its operation with its liquor license, the events that it may be holding go hand in hand with some of the concerns that this particular speaker and maybe other members of the audience have, whether it be related to noise or traffic. We are not here tonight, however, to discuss the liquor license in a very general sense. The liquor license is in existence already. Those liquor licenses are renewed on an annual basis. The notification that was issued in advance of tonight's public hearing and specifying what was going to occur at the hearing speaks to, and I have a copy of it in front of me, consideration of modifying, suspending, or revoking the liquor license due to potential violations of the terms of the license. And so whether big picture, the mere holding of a liquor license is allowing for events that could cause traffic or noise or whatever other concerns neighbors might have, isn't necessarily what's before the board tonight. So I would concur with the statements made by the chair and by others that, you know, insofar as the board wants more information about those concerns, because they might have an impact on future licensing or allowance of operations on the site, that should be the topic of a separate meeting, but really is not honed in on what's been noticed tonight. And so we really risk potentially compromising anything we do tonight if we open the scope up to something far beyond what's been properly noticed.
Amy, if I may.
Yeah.
I understand the concerns, and if we can, we've already said we're not going to vote on this tonight. So if we can set this up so that at our next meeting, which would be on the 21st, on the agenda, and this is my suggestion, the residents, we have an item for the residents to speak before the decision is made about the license. Would that satisfy you for?
Yes, thank you.
That was our plan.
Okay.
Okay. So introduce our lawyer.
Okay, sorry, Adam, I totally blanked and I forgot to introduce Adam Costa from our legal team.
No worries. Thank you. Good to see those of you I can see.
All right, have you?
So-
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so anyone else that needs to speak or hasn't already identified themselves? Okay, everyone else? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Let the record show that. All right, so Carolyn, can you give a brief description?
Sure. So what I'm going to present right now, based on the request that the select board members have had, was to gather any of the concerns that were related to the alcohol license and to get testimony from any of the department's employees or staff. And so I'm just giving you a general overview and then lead it into who you want to speak on behalf of the town. The Young Men's Club has had 2 to 3 events each year for the last several years called Springfest and Oktoberfest. These events draw upwards of 1,500 to 2,500 students from area colleges. These events are fundraising events for very worthy causes. These are 21 plus age events, and the Young Men Club sells alcohol to these attendees. Over the last couple of years, I'm going to say YMC has increased the number of events, and their popularity is also increasing. All their events have alcohol sales to 21 plus general admissions attendees. I will not give you any information that does not apply directly to the liquor license of the YMC. No other issues should be discussed at this hearing. You, the select board, may decide to have a future meeting to discuss any other issues and to hear complaints which do not apply to the licensure issue. Any members of the public or witnesses should contain their statements to the specific issue of alcohol licensure. The Young Men's Club has what is called a club liquor license, and I'm going to ask Jennifer, our licensing coordinator, to explain the general rules or regulations of what a club liquor license covers. Go
Thank you. So the club liquor license is defined under MGL Chapter 138, Section 1. That is attached for y'all in board docs. But the general overview of it is that a club liquor license is for club members and their guests only. And it's after the members introduce their guest, can the guest be served? And when the member leaves the premises, the guest can no longer be served. The club can also only sell alcohol from the licensed premises, which is their license reads the building itself and the three-sided pavilion. Excuse me. And then also there should be fencing around events when they're selling alcohol. And at this time there was not. So those are the three major things that we're bringing forward tonight. And are there any other questions you have for me, or would you like to?
I have a question.
Okay,
Is there a difference between a club license and a regular license in cost?
yes, actually, the club license is cheaper by over $1,000. The club license is a cheaper license.
Thank you.
Amy, do you want us to ask permission or
Yeah, you can go ahead.
is that okay?
Yeah.
So can the club serve alcohol to anyone that enters?
The actual definition of a club license is that a member must introduce a guest to the club, and then the club can sell at that time. So it's not, as Joan Q Public, I could not walk in and say, I'd like a gin and tonic. It is Molly Key as a member would introduce me, and then I could order my drink. That is how their license functions.
Yeah.
Does the club have to keep a record of the non-members they're serving?
I'm going to be really frank with you. I do not know the answer to that. I would ask Attorney Costa to speak to that.
Through you, Madam Chair. So there's no requirement in the statute that there be any record kept of the individuals that are being served who are non-members. But Jennifer is correct in her general characterization that the club license is far more restrictive than a typical regular pouring license, insofar as only members and guests of members properly introduced can be served, and those guests can no longer be served after the member has left the premises.
So I think there's on the site 2 buildings. There's the pavilion and then also the clubhouse. Is that the only 2 locations that can sell?
It's actually the only 2 locations that alcohol is supposed to be consumed on the premises is within what's confined and described on their license. That's how a liquor license is mentioned and states that this is where the alcohol is served and this is where it can be consumed on the premise. And that's why the ABCC has people submit in there the description of premises. And that's why it's so specific. And that's why their license states very specifically. And I would, sorry.
So like during an event, they can't have like alcohol on the grass, like walking around. Anything like that?
Their license states that the premises that's listed on the license is the only place that is legal with their club license to have alcohol.
So did anyone?
Question.
Is there?
I was going to ask if anyone saw that happening. Right. But there was witnesses to that.
All right, so you got
That
people
could speak
down
to it. Do we have a microphone for them so they don't have to move or? Oh, sorry, there is a microphone. I think you can stay. We're just gonna give them a microphone. You have her.
Yeah.
He was being nice. Yeah.
Yes, we had a request from the audience to use our big voices.
So my original question was, after purchasing alcohol, are they able to consume it like out on the grass, anywhere, outside of those buildings during events or concerts or anything like that? To which the answer was no. Right,
Yes.
and then I asked if anyone saw that happening.
Throughout. Yes, throughout the events that are held in the men's club, those that can consume alcohol are not contained in those buildings.
Were there other sites on the grounds that were also distributing alcohol
Yes,
besides the tent in the main clubhouse?
correct.
I mean, the pavilion. Thank you.
And what were they? Like a booth that got set up, or what was the nature?
At which event was this?
Greener and Spring Fest.
And you had another question?
Was the club aware of this happening? That people were selling alcohol from not the pavilion or the club? Were you aware of other people having alcohol? I mean, I'm just asking because I'm not sure if you were aware of it or not, who was out there at the time, of your club members.
Adam.
Is that an appropriate question to ask, Adam?
So it is. I just wanted to offer a suggestion, only because I've had my fair share of experiences in these sort of proceedings, which tend to be a bit more adjudicatory than what a select board might be used to. I know that I believe that Carolyn had a form of presentation prepared and then was going to invite individual town officials and others with direct knowledge of specific events to speak to the concerns that prompted today's hearing. I might suggest that occur before questions get asked, and then maybe there'll be an opportunity on a witness by witness basis to ask questions. And I say that not only to maintain some structure, but also because it is it's a due process right of the licensee and the licensee's counsel to also question these same witnesses. And so I just want to be sure that we're not depriving the licensee of that opportunity as well.
Yeah, so if you look at, if you look here, it's anyone needs to speak on that on behalf of the town.
Okay. Do you have? Oh, is there anyone here that can speak to that question?
On behalf of the town.
On behalf of the town.
Does the police fire want to speak to it?
Police or fire want to speak to it?
Get really close to your microphone, Amy.
Well, no, it's for a physical person that can't hear me. I'm so used to like there not being so many people and it just catching me here. Do we have a presentation that we need to show?
So
No.
well, what would be helpful would be, I mean, I would like to know exactly which aspects of the liquor license have been violated. I think what I've heard so far is Jennifer alluded to a fencing issue. And then also an allegation, again, saying allegation that there was alcohol being sold outside of the 2 prescribed areas in accordance with the liquor license. And I guess I'm questioning, are there other violations of the liquor license that we should be aware of?
Very specifically, they can hearing addressed those items.
Okay.
What was that question, Jennifer?
Molly asked if there were any further violations that the town believed. And I say it is only very specifically the one mentioned in public hearing. Notice that.
Well, right. So I'm going to go back to what I said a moment ago, because I'm not sure it was fully understood. I think my suggestion is going to be to the board that if there are town officials present, if there is a representative of the police department or the fire department or a building official, individuals that can speak to why we're here tonight. We haven't really heard a presentation yet. We just know that we're here based upon the notice to discuss possible modification, suspension, revocation, cancellation of a license. The applicant, the licensee, needs to know what it is being charged with, what the alleged violation is. And that needs to be presented through testimony of those who have familiarity with what occurred. They need to identify the event that they're speaking about, what they saw occur, what they witnessed, what they observed, what they recorded, and provide the board witness by witness with an opportunity to ask questions, provide the licensee or the licensee's counsel an opportunity to ask questions. But right now we've started this adjudicatory proceeding, but nobody's even mentioned the charges yet. So I think that that's where we need to sort of start with the first witness, if now's the appropriate time, whoever that may be.
If I may, somebody from the back table over there, I think you guys are the ones with all the knowledge. You got to start the show for us, please.
Michael Spaniel, Fire Chief. So based upon the request of the select board in regards to this hearing. We were asked to provide information as to what we saw during the Grass is Greener event. That's all I am speaking to you right now. The Grass is Greener event, there were satellite beer setups on site, which according to the liquor license is a violation. And then improper fencing, which was somewhat addressed. However, it was not completely addressed during that event. I am strictly talking about the Grass is Greener event.
Building commissioner, confirm exactly what Chief Stankenapple said. Basically the same thing. I think when the club runs an event themselves, the fencing is better. The Country and Country was inspected last year, had proper fencing and all, and when they run an event directly themselves, it's much better.
Mike Mason, Chief of Police. I wasn't on the site. I have Lieutenant Cook here who can speak to exactly what Chief Spanknable and Tom Quinlan just talked about. This is specifically about those two issues. I wish there was another way that we could have worked, this out. Our counsel has advised us that this is apparently the only way to modify and to get together and discuss these things. This is apparently why we're here. It's because of the fact that the club license is very restrictive, and we're looking for a way to kind of rein things in and work a little bit more together on how to make these things happen more safely. So if you have any specific questions about it, what we're talking about right now is the satellite beer stations and people drinking alcohol not in the areas that are constrained by the club liquor license, and the fact that tickets are being sold to pretty significant, excellent events that they run, which we are happy to work with them on continuing, to general public members. These are not members of the club. They are not guests of members of the club. They're sold to the general public. The board has several photographs of screenshots of their websites where they're selling these tickets to members of the public. Again, we are willing to work these things out. I have some suggestions for the board. We can make this a very quick hearing, but this is what we're here for. It's a very simple situation. Again, town council advised us that this hearing is the only way to make something like this happen. That's why we're here.
Do you have anything, Mitch? Yeah.
You want to
switch?
Other than what the fire chief indicated relative to the satellite beer drinking stations and the alcohol being sold outside of those the specific locations, is the consumption of alcohol. It's witnessed at each event that consumption of alcohol is around the entire property, not contained within the areas that are specified within the liquor license.
All right. Would you like to ask any questions? Make statement.
Sure, and I forget. And I apologize, I forgot who mentioned it, but I'd love to hear the suggestions to make this a quick hearing.
So here's my suggestion, and I think the rest of public safety will agree with me. Our attorney isn't aware of what I'm about to say, so you may want to block your ears. My suggestion is this. let's select a representative from the club to represent the club. Let's select a representative from the select board to represent the town people who are disturbed by some of these events. Let's sit down with public safety in a room, talk about what we can do to compromise and make sure that they can still have the events and the town can take care of the residents that have been complaining about the events. They have an event coming up. We're probably not going to be able to square this away in time. I think we have a good enough relationship with them that we can work with them on the country to make sure that goes off well, just like the last couple did. And set regulations for the future, make modifications to their license so that there's better communication. The town knows, you know, what they have the rules set. The club knows what the rules are. Everybody follows them. Everybody has a good time. Nobody dies. Everybody wins.
Yep, thank you.
Go ahead.
It's pretty simple.
Short little session.
You have any questions for them?
No, I mean, that sounds terrific. I mean, the Young Men's Club has been open, transparent, communicative. I mean, they try, right? And I understand we're in a formal setting because council is advising that this is the appropriate path, and it is. However, you know, a phone call or a sit-down meeting might have accomplished exactly the same thing, because I've got a group of folks here who love the town, who are really trying to raise money to do good things. You know, Grass is Greener is not going to be back. So if we're talking about that specific event, that is an event that is not going to be coming back to the Young Men's Club property in Hadley. As far as, you know, moving forward and working with the police, fire, you know, I've seen the emails, I've seen the letters, I've seen the interaction between and amongst the club and those departments, and there's collaboration. I mean, you heard it from your police chief. So, you know, I don't know that we need to go and modify or suspend or even have those type of discussions or give a warning. You know, I think what we're hearing is maybe we need to modify, or maybe you could modify the license to be within the fenced area instead of just the pavilion and the club. Right? Maybe that would be a solution, because I'm not hearing that there's necessarily an issue with that. It might be, let's make sure that the fencing is better. In those events that the Young Men's Club put on, the fencing is better. There's certainly security there. There's police detail there. There's EMS, et cetera. So it sounds like a lot of those basic instruments are there. And I think as far as the Young Men's Club is concerned, you know, they didn't know it was limited. I mean, they've been operating these events for pick a number of years. And they've been working with the town to operate these events for pick a number of years. And so they're a little bit surprised to have to call me and to be here tonight to have this discussion. So, I mean, they're hopeful to continue doing what they're doing with whatever sort of, you know, collaboration, additional collaboration that they have to do. But this, you know, they're not trying to be adversarial. They're not coming in and, you know, pounding their hands on the desk. And I think what Chief Mason suggests is a really great suggestion.
I think I can speak on behalf of the board or even previous boards that, you know, the club has done good things for the town. Certainly, I think the majority of us don't want to see anything really change over there, but we just want to make sure that people aren't doing what they're not supposed to be doing, as this green thing did. You know, I think that was the crux of the whole thing. I don't think it has anything to do. I met somebody at the post office, and I think she must have called the police department 5 times that night about, you know, when that was going on. And yet she said, I had no problem with Country and Country last year. So, I mean, there are just certain things that, you know, I don't know what they irritate people or what they do, but, you know, then they forget about the other things that, you know, the club does do and how they support our schools and everything else in town. So, you know, I think it's frankly. Yeah, and exactly. And I think, you know, again, Chief Mason certainly provided a good avenue for us to keep those lines of communication open. And I would like to see that happen.
So Amy, would it be appropriate then tonight to, and Adam, I guess for you as well, would it be appropriate for us to take the matter under advisement and have a general agreement that I think the suggestion made by the chief to see if we could take this kind of offline, so to speak, with a limited audience see what can be worked out and then bring that back to the board for further discussion.
Yeah.
Is that an appropriate way to handle it, Adam?
So through you, Madam Chair, I like the concept, but I'm going to tweak it a bit because I'm concerned with this with this idea of taking the matter under consideration, because I'm not sure that you've received all the evidence that you would need to receive if you were to conduct a full proceeding on a potential modification or suspension or revocation of a license. And I understand that that may not be where we end up. It doesn't sound like that's where those, at least those of you who just spoke, want to end up. But what I might suggest is simply that you continue these proceedings and allow for those offline discussions to occur and see what can be accomplished. And if a resolution can be achieved that doesn't require this process to play out any further, then the process would simply be discontinued. You would reconvene, you would close it, you would take no action. Conversely, if you're unable to come to some agreement, then you could resume these proceedings and you could consider the substance of the matter. I want to be clear about one point while everybody's in the room and we're discussing the matter that's pending before the board. The concern was raised by the town prior to the Grass is Greener event about certain aspects of that specific event that were potentially or could be read to be potentially in violation of the club license, like the advertising of tickets to the general public. We were consulted, and our general advice at that time was that you can't rescind a license, you can't take action with respect to a license based on a hunch, based on speculation that violations might occur. And so we awaited the completion of that event, and we documented what occurred at the event. And then our advice was, if the board wanted to visit or revisit what had occurred and whether it was consistent with the terms and conditions of the license, the only mechanism to do that is under the statute. It allows for a proceeding like the one we've convened here today for potential modification, suspension, revocation. Doesn't obligate the board to do any of those things, but it gives an opportunity for a dialogue to occur. If as a result of these offline conversations, there is a solution that is identified, and that solution requires either a different type of license that's not a club license that would allow for serving of individuals that aren't club members or guests of club members, or a modification of the club license to change the license premises to include areas beyond what's specified in the existing license. That's going to require some additional work outside the context of this hearing. That's going to require applications from the licensee, either a new retail license application or a license to amend the license premises, an application to amend the license premises. Unfortunately, with liquor licensing, so much of this process is dictated by statute and by the forms issued by the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission. So while we have some discretion about what we do as a town, as a board, we do need to defer to the process that has been established by the state.
So I suggest that we
Speak up, Jane.
I suggest that we appoint someone to be on a board on a committee to discuss this and postpone or continue this hearing at our next meeting.
I would move it out because I don't think it's gonna get.
I think you need more time at the next meeting, to a future date. And then I
Be
know.
more specific.
Yeah, 4 months.
The
4
first
weeks.
week, the first meeting of July.
Yeah.
It'll give us enough time for public safety to have a meeting with the appointee of the Young Men's Club. And set up who will meet with our chief and fire and building, and just to get those things situated, and then bring back everybody's agreement and recommendation of what, how we can proceed.
But can we decide who's going to be part of that right now?
I would love to be part of that.
And Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. I certainly have no objection to one member or potentially two members of the select board volunteering to attend meetings. That would be less than a quorum of the board, attend meetings with one or more representatives of the club to have discussions. I would advise the board against appointing or creating what would effectively be a subcommittee of the select board, because that subcommittee is then subject to the open meeting law, even if it's comprised of less than a quorum of the members.
I'll volunteer my services.
Right, you got two of us.
Okay. Excellent.
So I have a motion to,
Actually, I think
what is it? Motion to
Continue.
this meeting, and also to put at our next meeting a time for the other residents to speak.
But this
How does
this
that
meeting
work?
was,
I don't know if we can do that.
this meeting should be continued
'Cause it-
with a date, which would be July 5th.
Yep, July 5th. And then.
So we have a motion. Let's do that one, please.
That motion needs to include that date.
All right, so I move that we continue this meeting until July 5th.
Second,
Okay, motion by Joyce, second by Molly. I
Right.
did have a question on that, though. If we are moving this hearing to July 7th, that's fine, but we can
Fifth.
5th, continuing. That would still be just for this scope, so that would
Correct.
not include additional.
It's just the ABCC
Just,
license.
just this,
right.
so then we would, okay. So this would
But
not
if
be.
we wanted to, on our next
on our
meeting,
next meeting.
invite people to provide comment, we can do that. That's apart from this hearing.
Excellent, works for me.
Right, so you have a motion.
Motion seconded. All right, can I get a, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. All right. That's pretty painless.
All right, so we got to figure out when to set up this meeting and sooner than later.
Yes,
Can I connect everybody through email?
Sure.
that'd be perfect. If you could, please.
Do that.
have you
Thank you.
decided who your reps would be, or you, it's gonna be
If you're looking at.
Sean?
And then, we're also interested in hearing that there's going to potentially be some public input session on the 21st, just if that is when, that's why we're still sitting here and not getting it leaving, so that, because I think we want to come and listen just to hear the concerns and address what can be addressed, or take back and say, okay, there's some other things that we can do.
And that can be a part of what you discuss with Chief Mason.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
then-
yeah. It's separate and distinct from, we're hearing neighbors and noise and, is there, because I know that the special permits associated with the property don't allow any noise beyond 10 o'clock. So like that's already built in there, but listen to some more of what the public has to say.
I can share with them what I've heard about the positioning of the stage, because sometimes that's how it projects out. It goes this way or that way, depending on which way it goes. You know, I mean, sometimes I hear something on Bay Road, sometimes I don't.
Will council be attending these meetings?
Depends if council's asked to attend these meetings. It's always good to see you, Randy, so maybe I'll tell you.
You see him enough.
I know, I'll tell you about it.
And I will offer our building
It's
as a
lovely
meeting
building.
place.
I was able to see it earlier. So on the 21st, do you have a set time that you might be taking this up?
I think it would just be do you want to put it as an appointment, or would it leave it as an item?
It's your call.
It's an item.
Appointment.
Yeah, give it a specific time so they know.
Specific time so people can show up.
Make it 6.
Yeah.
6, you want to do 6:15?
Your pleasure.
6:30, why don't
Yes.
It's weird having power.
we could do 6:30?
You want to do 6:30?
Yeah, I'll be zooming on that one.
Okay, so let's do 6:30, give people an opportunity to come. On the 21st for that. Okay.
Thank you all who
Good
came.
resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
Mike
Adam.
Mason.
Adam Seeger.
Thank you. I'm sticking around for the executive session.
All right, so we need to go back. On,
We give them just a moment for everybody to clear out.
yeah,
You've already gone through past. You were really early in the meeting. It's like that we were. Yeah, good. Down there.
Excellent.
Consideration that's going on around the roads. It's getting worse.
Brenda, sorry, we can't talk about it with the.
Can you talk to? I understand,
Yeah.
but I live there. Can you talk?
We still can't
Yeah,
talk about it.
Can't talk about it. We're in an open, we're in the middle of our meeting.
Can you
Okay,
talk?
Yeah, later, sure. Yeah,
Brenda, can you
promise.
talk to the-
me know.
Yeah.
guys let me know because I'll go.
Okay.
Brenda, can you talk? Can you talk to the chief?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along.
We're still in the meeting.
It's better.
You guys, if you can, we're still actually still in open session.
I found this one. That was easy, guys.
All right, so did you finish the food truck regulation?
So what do you guys want to do with the food truck?
We ended that.
We should be done with it.
That we're.
We have the West
Well, I think
APR.
No. Food trucks, she's talking about food trucks.
We're done with
Yeah.
food.
Bill
We were still
and
talking.
Adam.
No, we continued the discussion to a subsequent
Yeah, we ended
meeting.
up stopping.
On the food truck?
I
Yes.
had recommended that, yeah, on the food truck regulation, because I had asked, I said, normally we've gone to a practice of having like a kind of a first and second reading on something like that.
Okay.
So I had said, could we defer the actual vote to a future meeting so that any questions could get answered?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have that moved to the 21st. The 21st getting full?
So, but we have to do it.
It's not bad. We got to do it. We have to
Alright.
do it. So
Mhm.
it shouldn't take long.
All right, so now we have that. All right.
All right.
West.
West APR.
Down, we're down to the West APR. So essentially, we're looking for a motion to approve the final documents for the completion.
So moved.
All
Second,
right. Motion by Joyce, second by Jane. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So I know that Jack was here before
I'm
to
gonna speak
talk
to
about
this.
that. Okay. If you want to go ahead.
all right, so the town is about to be awarded its green community status, which comes with money, which is always pleasant. And they are offering the town a choice of other options going forward to work with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission about how to things that would be best for our town. And the committee met, and I was there as liaison, and their thought with this form that you have in front of you was to choose the first two, to assist with grant application preparation and to assist with the annual report preparation. We have to do an annual report as a green community, so they just help us get it done right. And anybody who can help write grants is always welcome in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the suggestion of the,
Is there any reason not to do this?
no,
I think he's looking for the specifics. You said, did you mention 1 and 2 for some
one
reason?
and two, assist
but
with
I
grant
can't open it for some
application
reason.
and annual report preparation.
Yeah,
So
the third one is. What, can you read the third one to me? I'm sorry.
Present results of the annual report at a virtual or in-person meeting to a municipal executive board.
Yeah, so Jack felt that they could do that.
Yeah.
Or we could do that. So I just want to let you know that he wanted you to kind of discuss whether you wanted to do the third one or not.
One of the
The
things
fourth one's
about
regional
this that we
schools.
discussed is,
Yeah, the fourth one we don't need to worry about.
and there are others down below that we don't even want to get involved in. Is that there's limited funds and they're gonna choose who can do how many. And so we thought if we stayed simple, it would be easier for us to get approved for the ones we want.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the climate committee.
second,
Motion by Molly, second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right,
aye.
All right. Town administrators report.
So I'll just go over it. I hope my notes match. So I did just complete the fifth the 5-week course for the design and construction contracting procurement. Going towards the certified to get the certification for that. There's one more class and one more exam. So I'm passing all the exams so far. So that's what was it, like 4 classes I've done. So the timing's perfect because we have some 2 significant projects coming up as far as designing construction. So it'll be a good refresher for me. I attended the Mass Association of Town Managers and Administrative Conference last week. Thank you for that opportunity because it was excellent. It was great to hear that all town managers and administrators are facing the same challenges all the time. So it was very good. And we have excellent, really good town administrators in the local area. So it was good. The bid is out for the Senior Center Solar. And the RFQ for the Russell School feasibility reuse study is in process. It's going to go to legal.
How much money does the senior center have for the solar?
250,000.
And what if there's a shortage? What are you gonna do?
It won't be a shortage.
It's only gonna cost 250?
You buy what you've
You
got
buy
money
what
for,
we can
Joyce.
afford.
Say that again.
You buy what you've got money for.
Okay,
So they respond based on the price.
okay. It's
We
good to
didn't
know.
tell them how much money we have, but
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what's left in the building budget.
And
okay.
then I did submit that grant for signage for to reduce fatalities. And that was the signage that we're going to focus on Bay Road, Route 47 for the bike,
Oh, good.
the bikes. And just a reminder that Zaturka Park, the ribbon cutting ceremony is June 15th at 3 p.m. And Haley wanted me to share with you from the Council on Aging that they did get their certificate for the Age Dementia Friendly Action Plan has been approved. And again, it's a very good group and a very good project that they're moving
Might be
forward
hitting
with.
the
So,
frequency.
oh, I did want to talk about the safety committee. I wanted to give you an update on the safety committee that Sue Glowatsky, working as the risk manager, the good handle she has on insurance and working so well with Maya. She has put together a safety committee, which this main purpose is really to keep our loss as low as possible, which obviously keeps our premiums low. And I'll be updating you at our next meeting. She has saved substantial amount of money because of her knowledge that I want to share with you and keeping an eye on our insurance carrier. But it was a safety committee that is led by Maya, and they're going to prioritize some initiatives to, again, keep the claims as low as possible. We get points for all those trainings and stuff. So Troy sat in on that. It's a really good group. So I wanted to give you an update on that as well. So that's what I have right now.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that it was all nice and bullet pointed. Okay.
Number 9.
Shiva?
You read number 9.
Oh, are there any items for future discussion? Okay, are there any liaison reports?
No, how about the ambulance committee? We're meeting again next week.
14th.
14th,
I think.
for contract negotiations again with them, and Chief Mason has applied for EMD grant. It has to come out of the police department, so we'll be hearing about that next week also.
That's the emergency management. That's the dispatch for
Dispatch.
medical that Joyce is talking about.
Okay. Are there any announcements?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Let's thank everybody that participated in the Memorial Day Parade. It was great weather, good time. And thank you to everybody, the Legion and Denise, I don't say Barstow, but she's got a married name.
Barstow Mance.
Barstow Mance.
Yeah.
For setting up and organizing the parade itself. And I think everybody enjoyed their time, and thank you. Unfortunately, we have 2 passing of our town residents. We have Patricia Cole, who's a graduate of Hopkins Academy. She passed away in Rhode Island with her family. So condolences to her family. And then we, of course, had the unfortunate passing of Tommy Phil, local farmer, builder, did a lot of house, and he actually put a roof on my house years ago. So he's been around a long time, and so it was a very unfortunate accident, and our regrets go out to his family, wife, children, parents, siblings, and many friends. So.
And I just wanted to acknowledge again, tragic event, but sometimes there's some joy that comes out of it. And yet again, we had our neighbors in Amherst, J&J Farms had that horrible lightning strike. But you know, it always warms me to see how the community comes together, and there was no boundary between the Hadley farmers and their dairy farm to the side of them and over the Amherst town line, and just the stories about how you know, the cows got moved around, everybody got them where they needed to be. There's a GoFundMe that was set up that you know, people have contributed to. So again, it's nice to be reminded what a wonderful community we live in, regardless of our daily bickerings.
Yeah,
So it's
sure.
pretty neat. So good luck to, you know, obviously the farm owners. They've got a tough road ahead of them right now, but. All right.
Motion to go into executive session,
Motion to adjourn.
not to read,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
to
motion.
reconvene in open session.
Second.
Huh? Make me say something that I don't.
Yeah.
Well, want me to fill in the blank?
I don't have.
Oh, so it's gonna say, yeah, so you have to make motion to move.
Yeah,
to-
make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose, accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation related to the Valley CDC versus the Hadley Zoning Board of Appeals, not to reconvene in open session.
Second.
All right, motion by Molly, second by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call vote for this.
Keegan,
Yes.
Chungalo,
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
And Isaac.
Yes.